Hi, I'm Beth, a digital artist based in the UK, and I love doing art about all the things I'm passionate about, like games, movies, and I'm also partial to a good meme. So today I'm bringing you along on the journey of making all the items for my next shop drop. I guess you could say I am a big The Mummy fan. It's actually my favorite movie of all time, so I decided to make a whole collection inspired by The Mummy. So let's get started. I'm about nothing if not the branding, so a mummy shirt had to be worn. And these are all the designs I'm going to be working with today. Had to do one with the book, of course. How can you not do the book when you do a mummy collection? And then I drew all these elements separately for other things, so I thought they'd look cute as a sticker. Like the details on it took so long to make, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I also designed a couple of bookmarks, again, using the book. This is my favorite line in the entire movie, so I had to do one with a different design on each side of the bookmark to include both parts. I'm really happy with this. And then again, with the elements that I did for the sticker, I did this bookmark with a little pattern. I feel like the sand background that I try to do for it really comes across. And this is completely new for me, notepads. This is what started really the whole idea for the collection, so I made this one that will be an A6 size. And then this one is just the base for one that's A5 that will be like a book review notepad. I'm just obsessed with the Book of the Dead and you can't judge me for it. I decided to start with all the printing because I've recently got a new printer to start making all my own items myself instead of ordering them in. And it's been a journey trying to figure that out, so I figured getting that out of the way first. Starting with the stickers, I put them into Canva and made a little layout for printing, and I added some corner marks to help with the printing, and I just used a PDF print setting. I think it's self-explanatory, that's the best one. And because I don't have a lot of space in my home studio, I have to do this with a printer like in a corner and just pull it out every time I need it. If you're curious, this is a Canon Pixma IX6 850. It's the only one I could find in my budget that takes the thickness of paper that I like to use. Here I'm opening up the print file on GIMP, which is a good free alternative to Photoshop. I'm just looking over it to make sure that it all looks okay. I did a round of stickers before this, and I just figured out that printing them from here instead of from the PDF itself just gave better results, so that's what I've started doing. But I'm definitely still learning what to do with this printer. I did get warned by the internet that it is a learning curve getting your own printer to do your art things, and I did have that problem here with trying to print it borderless, which means like going all the way to the edges of the paper. As you can see, kind of cut off a couple of them, but otherwise the quality was good, so that's a win. So I went back into the settings and tried again. The best advice I could give anyone in the same situation as me of trying to figure out a new printer is to have a notebook and just write down what you do every time so you can figure it out, but I didn't, so I just saved the ones that I could from both prints, and I moved on to the bookmarks. So I'm grabbing some hot laminate pouches, and I found this paper on Amazon. It's from Koala, that's glossy on both sides, so I thought that'd be great for bookmarks, and I'm giving that a go today. And we are back on Canva. At least these ones don't go to the edge of the paper, so I shouldn't have as many issues as with the stickers. But famous last words, because of course I did. I played around with the settings again here because I really want those corner marks to be in the corner of the paper so that everything is straight and prints the correct way. And surprise, surprise, as you can see there, the black mark is not on the corner and you only can see one of them, so considering this is a two-sided print, that's not gonna work out, so I'm trying again.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
And again. And I eventually figured it out. hurrah! So if you're in the same situation as me with GIMP trying to do this, so you have to select A4 paper size but not borderless and ignore the borders however, and not center the image, and then you just manually stretch out the image until the corner markers reach the corners. So I'd really suggest including those as well, just to make sure that everything's correct. But yay, I managed it! But then what I also managed was printing one of the sides of the bookmark upside down, so I had to redo those, and here they are, perfectly centered, as all things should be. With my newfound printer confidence, I then printed the other design, just making sure, again, that they are the right way around, but they look pretty okay. I had the idea to try and make magnetic bookmarks with my sticker designs, so I laid them out like this on Canva as well. Back on GIMP. And printing. Even though these don't need to be glossy on both sides, I just use the same paper as the bookmarks just to save me having to buy new paper. And here they are. First try. For the last but biggest print job of the day, the notepads, I'm trying out this navigator paper that says it's good for color, so hopefully that will work out. And it's also thicker than just average printer paper, and it's very soft to the touch, so I'd recommend this. To save paper, the A6 design needs to be 4 per page, which brings back my nemesis, borderless printing. As much as I tried, I couldn't get it to print properly all the way to the edges, and this printer is going to be the death of me. Eventually I gave up on trying to print through GIMP. I think the program just does not allow for true borderless printing, so I just printed it directly from the PDF, and that seemed to work out after much trying as well to get the size correct. And it just has like a tiny little white border around the edges, which I can live with, and I just got that myself. While the rest of the notebook was printing, I just started cutting some of the pages, and I found my new nemesis, the guillotine I just bought. Because, look at this. Looks all good and dandy, right? Wrong. It just did not cut properly, and me, like an idiot, I tried to do it again because I thought maybe I did something wrong. And no. It's the guillotine's problem. It just gets to a point where it rips the paper and does not cut all the way through. So I went to my handy dandy little cutter that I use for my postage labels. Here I just put some Twitch in the background because it is very monotonous to hand cut all of these, even though it does make it slightly better for being able to see the edges, but...
One eternity later.
I finally got enough paper cut for 2 A6 notepads. Considering everything I went through for it, they actually look okay, but maybe that's just a foggy late night brain talking, because at this point I'd been cutting for hours. But I decided to push through to try and get these at least drying overnight, so next came the chipboard to get the backings for the notepads done. And here comes the foggy late night brain again, because I thought I'd try the guillotine again. Maybe I'd just done something wrong somehow. But no, it's just bad. This is the one time I'd actually cut something correctly, but I think I'm giving up on this. Time to move on to the A5 notepad, and this one I designed the actual page on Canva as well. And sending it to print directly from the PDF as well, like the A6 notepad. The test page looked okay, so time to move on to printing everything. Once I had a few pages printed, I started cutting them to be a bit more efficient, and since I had to cut one at a time.
It's been 84 years.
It definitely felt like that, old lady from the Titanic, but we got there, and I managed to get all the pages cut for all the notepads. Yay! But before I get some well-deserved rest, it's time to glue them together. I just watched a few YouTube tutorials on how people get these notepads done, and it just involves getting all the pages neatly together, clipping them to keep them in place, and then just putting glue on the side that you want glue to be on. So now was the perfect time to have some more Twitch in the background while I got this done. Enjoy a break from my voice. Now that these are all set up and ready to dry, it's time to go to bed and get some rest for tomorrow. See you then. Second day of crafting, second mummy shirt, to be on theme. First thing to do, since the notebooks were out to dry overnight, was to check that they were all okay, that the glue was strong enough and that it didn't need any more. And because I knew I would inevitably get glue on the first page, I added an extra one when I was gluing it together so I could do this. I love that sound. Considering it was my first time doing a project like this, I was pretty happy with how they turned out. There was nothing about them that I couldn't fix before putting them for sale, like just getting the extra pages out or a tiny bit of glue on the back that I could just scrape off as well. Remember when I said I'm all about the branding? Yeah, we're not finished yet, so I'm just gonna stamp these all on the back with a stamp that I had made with my logo and my business name. If you have a small art business, I'd really recommend getting one of these for products like this and the back of prints. With the notebooks out of the way, it's time to laminate and cut all the stickers, and because I don't have a cutting machine, these will all be cut by hand. More cutting. Lucky me. Today's nemesis of choice wasn't my printer, it was peeling things. Even with tweezers, it was a struggle to get the laminate peeled off or anything I had to peel off today. It was just insane, so enjoy me struggling with this. Laminating stickers really makes such a difference to the quality, and it also helps them be a little bit more waterproof. I've also bought laminate with effects like shattered glass and sparkles, but I just went with the classic clear for these ones. I knew I'd have to cut these by hand when I designed them, so I tried to make the outline as simple for me as I could in advance. That's why one of them is very round. And the other one does have some smaller elements, but it wasn't too bad actually in the end to get them cut. So I started by just roughly separating them all. And then with the help of some magic fingers. And more twitch. They were all cut. Next on the project list was the magnetic bookmarks. I actually noticed a problem with these the night before when I was tidying up, where the black ink was really smudgy, so one of them just couldn't be saved. So I tried to be as careful as I could with the rest of them, and I used the leftover laminate from the stickers to laminate these. I then moved on to cutting them. I did the same as with the stickers, where I cut them off just roughly individually. But then I did notice once I got into the details that the cut quality just wasn't very good. The edges were very rough, so I just decided to abandon this and move on to the other bookmarks, which hopefully would be a bit easier to handle. I think you can definitely skip this, but I thought I would cut some of the edges of the paper so it would fit inside the laminating pouches a bit easier. Then it was time to laminate the bookmarks. This does have a cold setting, so I might try that in the future for the stickers. It could definitely save some time, I think. And once the machine was hot enough, it was time to pop the bookmarks through. Once I let the laminate cool down completely, it was time to get these all cut. And before this turns into an advert for this cutter, here they are, all cut and just needing some of the edges trimmed up. After that, I ran them all through the laminator a few more times just to make sure that the laminate was as laminating as it could be. And the next step was to round out the corners. I don't know if I'll always cut the corners for these, I like them both ways, but this batch gets them. And this is where the vlog was supposed to end. I thought I'd had everything done and everything was good, but when I was putting everything away I noticed some issues with the bookmarks, and I thought I'd give the magnetic bookmarks another go, so... An unplanned day 3, and it was cold, so no mummy shirt, just vibes. Canon Pixma, we meet again. So because the issues I had were specifically with the Koala double-sided glossy paper, I thought maybe the printer was using too much ink, so I reduced the quality and tried to print them again to see if they would look a little bit better. Turns out that really helped. I didn't think that reducing the quality would make them look better, but they did. The black wasn't as saturated and the rest of the colors actually looked a lot better as well, so I just need to remember this for when I'm printing on this kind of paper. I didn't notice this until I was storing the bookmarks, but my Book of the Dead designs also had some issues with the print, especially on the black coloring, where there were some white lines and slight smudging on them, so I thought I'd reprint those and maybe just sell the other ones as B grades. Doing the same thing here of lowering the quality of the print also made it look a lot closer to how I originally intended it to look, and there were no problems with smudging, so it was just time to repeat the rest of the process all over again. But before I moved on to that, I thought I'd give the magnetic bookmarks one last try, so here I was laminating them, which is a lot easier to do with a full sheet instead of just random scraps, but you do what you have to do. I'll probably move on to using the laminator machine for these in the future because I had a bit of a hiccup there on the left side, so I was going to use those two as kind of the test ones since I couldn't sell them. Since the main issue I had with these the day before was the quality of the cut, I thought I would try using this blade to get at least the straight edges done. And I also noticed while looking at the footage from the day before that I'd used the wrong scissors for cutting, so I thought maybe that was part of the issue, so I also used the correct scissors this time. The cut was definitely better this time around, not as smooth as I would like it, but definitely better, so I moved on to folding them. I don't have any scoring tool, so I used what I had to make it as neat as I could. I've had these magnetic sheets for a while. I've used them for ages to just turn my favorite stickers into fridge magnets, so I thought maybe these would be good enough to do magnetic bookmarks. I cut out 2 small squares and then checked about 1,000,000 times, which was the magnetic side for each one. For gluing the magnets to the paper, I used some double-sided tape. And the guinea pig bookmark was all done and ready for testing. It started out looking good, the size looked okay and I liked how it looked on the book, but there was definitely an issue with the magnets. They weren't as strong as I thought they would be. They were just very easily opening up, so I wasn't really happy with this. So unfortunately, magnetic bookmarks are not to be right now. To fully avoid any issues with smudging, I left the bookmarks out to dry while I was trying out the magnetic bookmarks, and here I was printing out the front, which was the heavier black side, so I left that for last. And these definitely look so much better, like there are no lines at all on the print, so I'll keep that in mind for the future. And I also changed the print design a little bit to not have gaps between the bookmarks, just to save me a little bit of time while cutting them. I didn't change anything about the rest of the process on making these, so enjoy a bit of bookmark ASMR. And now with all the products finally done, it was time to do the last step, getting everything listed on Etsy. This is the tripod that I use mostly for light when I'm taking the pictures, but I also used it to film all of this. And this is the chair that I use as my background with that fluffy blanket on it. It's time to move Pikachu and the mummy pillow out of the way. Here I'm just going through all the different settings for the light I have. Living in Scotland, the natural lighting situation is not always great, so an extra light is always very helpful. And now it's time to take all the pictures. I'm definitely not super professional about this. I don't use any props or anything for the background. I just take a few pictures of each, but I like to keep it consistent, always with the same background at least, so that the shop front just looks very neat and tidy. And once all the listings are published and ready to go, this is what it looks like on Etsy. I definitely play around a lot with the thumbnails and the brightness and the contrast of the images once they're up, because they for sure look different from your phone to once they're online. So I just go and have a last check through all of them. But yeah, this is the entire collection now up for sale. I'm not gonna lie and say that it was all smooth sailing, because there is literal video evidence that it wasn't, but I'm just so proud of myself for taking on the challenge of making all of these myself, and I'm already looking forward to working on the next shop drop, even with all the cutting. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I definitely enjoyed making it, and let me know if you'd like to see more like this in the future. See you next time!